Welcome back at a special edition of M2 Meets, the EUSOBI social media interview format. My name is Matthias, and today I have the pleasure to talk to Caroline Justich, a breast cancer survivor and founder of an amazing initiative called Be Accepted, and to talk also, again, with Professor Michael Fuchsjäger, who is, among many other positions he holds, the president-elect of the European Society of EUSOBI. So, today we have got more time to talk about this awesome initiative with many perspectives, the patient perspective, but also a very important perspective for us as breast imagers. So let's stop talking and let's start walking. Caroline, what is your initiative, your wonderful platform all about? And maybe we start with a personal story. Thanks for being with us, Caroline.
Hi, Matthias. Thank you for the invitation. Well, to start with a personal story, when I was pregnant with my third child, I suffered under severe back pain, and there wasn't put a lot of attention to. I married into a big doctor's family, and it was my third pregnancy. So it was reduced to just simple back pain because of the pregnancy. And it didn't stop after the baby was born. And then finally, when he was 7 months old, I had an accident, water skiing. And I had really problems getting back on the boat. And I was really a good water skier. So this was not something typical. So I got very good medication for that. I still was not sent to imaging test. And a couple of days later, I left with my kids to Central America, where I used to live, because I studied in the States and was there for a long time. And the pain did not go away, but I really wanted to spend that last summer with my kids in a good way, because I would have to go back to work after my baby turns 1. And it was the last entire summer I could spend with them. But this meeting last summer very soon became a very different meaning, because when I came back home, I got up one morning and it made a huge crack in my backbone. And I couldn't move anymore, not lie down, not sit, not move 1 centimeter. So somehow they got me back into bed, and an emergency team came. I was taken to the hospital, and very soon it was clear it was cancer, and it had spread throughout my whole body. My lumbar vertebra was broken. So my accident actually was luck, because otherwise I still would not have gone to the doctor. And in the end of the day, I was diagnosed with cancer stage 4. And in that moment, they sent me the priest for the last, I don't know how it's called in English, and a psychiatrist. And I asked him to please leave. And they reminded me, it's like, well, you know that you have something very serious. And I told him, yes, I'm aware, but I cannot lose any time now. And that's the moment when I called Michael Fuchsjäger, who I had apparently was my very close group of friends, and I'm lucky to know him. And I called him and I said, I please do need your help. And what he did was something, he turned it around for me, because he said, okay, we're going to do this and this and that now, and you're going to go there and there. And he put me in this shock and said, okay, we will do everything in our power to get you through there. And it was from cancer, thinking cancer, you die in a second or soon, because they told me I have 3 more months, and it was October. I wouldn't have made it until Christmas. My baby was only 9 months. To, okay, you have options, and this is the plan, the step-by-step plan. This is what we do, and everyone will be on it. So you go through that well. And that's the moment when I realized the very important role of this first moment of diagnosis, the important role of radiology, this big responsibility, but also this opportunity it brings. And it defined my mission, as I already mentioned in the teaser video. And this mission did become Be Accepted. And what Be Accepted is, it has a 360-degree approach. So it should serve everybody, not only patients. Of course, it should serve you as radiologists as communication tool, but also on a multidisciplinary level, it will help optimize the workflow on their side when people already do come well informed to the oncologist, gynecologist, or wherever their pathway leads them to. This is what we did. And what's also very special about Be Accepted is the 360-degree composition. So it's an initiative that was developed in cooperation with the European Society of Radiology, which is a very strong partner. And we have only communicated and spoke directly with the individual artists. So we have the society, we have a strategic partner with Siemens Healthineers from the industry, we have patient advisory group, we have me as a patient, we have the radiologists, we directly talk to other medical specialists. And by talking directly to the artists, we managed to create something very special. It's also linked to my personal story because people tend to look for stories for people who were diagnosed with something incurable that still live, that's still alive, because this is what gives them hope. So we talk directly to the artists, and therefore we cut it out like the middleman, like an advertising company or whatever. And that is what created something very special and unique. So women receive something in the moment of the diagnosis to hold on to, a magazine, and they're not able to take in any kind of information really, because their life change and becomes a new reality in that moment. So they are able to hold on to one tool where they find everything they need to know. They immediately become active. And that helps them to give them a better idea how to cope with it, how to build their resilience, but also how to stay physically fit, but only on evidence-based complementary things to support their medical treatments, which is focus is of Be Accepted. So,
wonderful, Caro. Thanks for sharing your personal story, and this is very moving, it's touching, but it's also an inspiration and motivation for you, but all of us, to focus on this important moment, this pivotal role, what also we as physicians have, particularly as radiologists, and even more important, as we are talking here at the EUSOBI channels, the breast imaging channels, what we have as breast imagers. So Professor Fuchsjäger, dear Michael, please add your perspective to this, I think, extremely important part of patient interaction as a breast imager in the very initial phase, in the first hour.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you for the invitation as well. It's a pleasure and honor to be here in this video cast. Let me go back to the story Caro shared when she called me. I thought, oh, it's nice that you're calling me. How are you? And she said, you know, Michael, this is now not a friendship call. Actually, I need your advice as a doctor. Then Caro told me her initial story, what had happened to her. And of course, I changed to the physician mode. And what is important here, and specifically as breast images, is the adequate communication. And adequate communication means that you're here for your patient. Of course, this will not be able to be an hour, for every patient at every given moment, but to clearly assess the situation, to communicate clearly actually what we do have right now and what the next steps will be. And this is very important, because what I have learned during my career, that at the time of diagnosis, when a patient hears cancer, the window closes, the shutters go down. So you are not able to process any further information. So what you need then is just to have at least one clear next step. And this is so important, because the patient can hold on to this next step. So give at least one more step, not 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The next step is, and perhaps after this we will do that. So the patient knows, okay, I'm going to the gynecologist, or I'm going to the biopsy here in your practice, and the biopsy will be tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. Once we have the biopsy, this will go to histopathology, and after 5 days you will have the result, and then we start with the therapy plan. And this actually is so important information. It's so basic for us as breast imagers, but we have to be aware that we have to give this information, and that's, I guess, the value that we have in this very first moment. where we actually, as radiologists, have a unique and very big role, because we are keeping the gate. We are the gatekeeper in this diagnostic process in the beginning. And then actually, if you look at this from the breast images perspective, there are so many steps where we are actively involved. You might perhaps find a cancer by screening. It's not that the patient calls you, as Caro called me with her story, but you find a cancer at the screening examination. Then you have the diagnostic examination, where you actually come to the imaging diagnosis. Then the next step is the image-guided biopsy, where you obtain the tissue that is sent to histopathology. Then you get the histopathology diagnosis. With this, actually, then you go into the staging examinations, and then you are a member, equal member in the tumor board or on the tumor board, and you decide on the treatment plan. Then perhaps there is a preoperative hook wire localization, because fortunately, most of the tumors we do find are very small. They are not palpable. So very thin hook wires actually are placed into the lesion. Many of you know this or perform these procedures themselves. Then there might be an intraoperative specimen radiography, just to define that the whole lesion actually is covered with margins, with adequate margins. Then after surgery, there might be follow-up examinations, but definitively there will be monitoring of the treatment success and annual follow-up examinations. So we are actually right at the core of this whole diagnostic and therapeutic and follow-up process. And this is why the role of the radiologist, specifically in breast imaging, is so important.
Thank you, Michael, for summarizing this. And this, again, was a Herculean task, because this is worth an interview of ours. But in general, we are acting as, we may say so, travel agents who are guide the patients through a long journey. And in every pivotal step on this road, we are involved. And this is, in a way similar to what in different parts of medicine a GP, a general practitioner, does, because we are basically always extremely close to the patient. And this is, I think, the logic behind that you together, having a personal story, but also a professional story, founded and promoted and started to kick off this wonderful initiative called Be Accepted. So now Michael, please go.
No, what I just wanted to add, and which was enlightening for me, although I'm a breast imager now actively for 25 years. And we know that we are close to our patients. We are close through, let's say, ultrasound examinations. We are close through our image-guided interventions, where we talk with the patient. Of course, we talk a lot about patient history prior to any imaging test or to any biopsy. But Caro actually came back to me when she was on a successful therapy track after some time and said, Michael, do you remember how important you actually are, or how important you were, because you put me on the right track? It's about you as the radiologist. Are you even aware? And I think at times we need this to understand how important we are, with regard to communication in this first moment of shock when the diagnosis comes in, and then actually as the first physician who sends the patient, who provides the next adequate steps and sends the patient on the therapeutic journey. And then we will be there all the time for the follow-up examination. So our role is super important, and we have to be aware of this, and we have to make the most of it. And this is about communication. Communication was a little bit neglected, not so much in breast imaging, but in radiology in general, with this age of digitization, where we actually found our way in front of monitors in dark rooms that are very quiet, and where some of our colleagues, of course not us, it's always the others, said, well, don't call me or don't take me to talk to the patient, because I have my job to do. I have to report the images. Yeah, reporting images, reporting imaging tests is one part of our job. The other job is to be on the telephone available for other medical specialists to discuss their patients, to be available for our patients, to give them the necessary information, to explain them the result of the imaging test, to guide them through the next steps on the therapeutic journey. And of course, communicating with the whole team and education and so on. This is just something I wanted to mention. Communication is at the core, and Caroline actually made me re-aware of the important role that we have.
Beautiful, and a beautiful example of how teamwork between friends, but in this case also patients, can lead to growth and to revalidating what we actually are doing on a daily basis. Thank you very much, Michael, Professor Fuchsjäger, President-elect of the European Society of Breast Imaging. And after telling the personal story about this wonderful campaign called Be Accepted, and after adding the perspective and the importance of acting as a communicator, gatekeeper, and actually a guide to the patient who is traveling a long journey from the first minute getting a diagnosis to treatment, post-surgical follow-up, treatment follow-up, I think it's now time to talk a little bit about what are the things, what are the information, what are the, let's call it services, what your wonderful campaign project, Caroline, is offering to the patient, because this interview will be watched both by breast imagers, but also by patients who would like to approach to your information.
What it offers is everything in one tool. This is the first thing which was very important for me. And it offers all for the patient. So this is how it looks. The layout is very beautiful. This was very important for us. And it's also noticed by a lot of medical specialists because the language we use is positive. So it's about life and how to spend life with cancer in a very high quality. But also for radiology, it should, and radiologists, it should improve their quality of life and also their identity. Because I think communication has a lot to do with identity. How you see yourself has a big impact on how you see an outside. And like from the outside position as a patient, but being with the European Society of Radiology for a very long time, I noticed that you've been told you sit in the dark room, you became radiologists because you do not like to communicate. Radiologists should not communicate. Other medical specialists don't want you to communicate because, of course, communication bears a lot of power. And so this is what you have been told. It's like a pattern. So you need to switch your habits to move into a new pattern. And I think the time is here now, and everyone needs to do a little bit more that goes beyond the initial interest. And this is what we want to do with Be Accepted, to offer something to patient that goes beyond your initial interest and to do a little bit more. And we also invite other medical specialists on our stage because they can also share their expertise and Be Accepted, which is amazing, to also make their life easier, their work-life optimization easier. And we are all very busy, and you as radiologists are tremendously busy and have a very high workload. So this will help you to really use the limited time in a perfect way and to provide the patient with everything on the medical pathway he needs to know or she needs to know, and also how to remain physically and mentally fit in order to cope with the therapies. So this is the magazine. Then there's also a website, a mobile website that offers a lot of expertise too. So we do have a lot of interviews with specialists. We have a lot of topics, but we also do have a patient's avatar. That's our interactive 3D woman that you can click whatever question or side effect you have. And it's very easy to handle because you have to be aware going through cancer treatments, you have a fog in your brain and you're not able to do very difficult tasks sometimes. So it has to be, we really took care. Everything is very accessible, very beautiful. So you still can remain as a woman and your identity, because breast is something that's very personal, very for women. I had a lot of surgery, so two parts of my liver were like 2 sections of my liver were taken out. My lumbar vertebra was replaced with a cage. But mentally, after my breast surgery, it was the worst, because this is something that goes into your whole female being. So we took a really big focus on remaining and staying a woman there too. What we do with the avatar, so it's easy to get back to that. Sorry, you click on one point of interest. There are 30 in total. So, for example, you click on the breast, then you have all kind of things. So, what the findings, whatever. You click on the findings, and for example, the birates are explained, but in a way, in a language a patient will understand it. Or how to build a doctor's team on a multidisciplinary level, or how to prepare for your radiation therapy, or what to do for diarrhea when you have the chemodiarrhea, and all kind of things. How is the breast reconstruction going to be done? So all these things, but very easy, very like on the surface. If you need more details, you have links to other articles that go more into depth. And we also wanted to give access to this high-end knowledge of all the experts to people, but also you have to be aware, like this whole cancer treatment and all these complementary fields, all these things, they cost a lot of money. So we wanted to put a lot of workshops. It's like an online cloud that constantly grows. So if you want to attend yoga or qigong class, you can also do that and be accepted via the platform. The costs are very limited. The platform only costs 22 euros per year. So, and the magazine, we pass on to radiologists. It's available in German and English now, and we are about to translate it into more languages with our strategic partner, Siemens Healthineers. They provide it for their clients. So, and you can also buy it via us, and we pass it on for whatever it costs us to produce, depending on the printing prices, which depends on the economy.
For the information that you need and that you might not be able to process at this point of diagnosis, and exactly for this situation in the beginning, Be Accepted offers all the information. So everything you forget to ask as a patient at the doctor's, at the breast images office at that time can be found on the website and in the magazine. So every single question, from what is the next step to what happens to my hair during chemotherapy, if I may just mention one aspect. Also legal aspects are there, or what happens psychologically with me, how do I deal with my small kids, for instance, if my kids are very small. And there are always links how you can actually find more information and get more details how to cope with the whole situation. So one of the aspects actually was that you, as a patient, you do not forget anything, or that, let's put it the other way around, if you forget to ask a question, don't be scared, because you get this Be Accepted magazine at the doctor's office and you can find the answers to any question you need.
Yeah, when I may say something to that, when I had my biopsy, it was a radiologist. He told me one sentence. He told me, this will be a roller coaster ride. Make sure you focus at the end of the ride, regardless of the loops, ups and downs. You focus that you be going out okay, and we will do everything that it will happen. So, and this is actually the only sentence. It took 10 seconds of his time, and for me, it changed the game completely, because I even have it in my phone, and it shows up every day at 9 o'clock. It shows up, and it's like, okay, focus at the end of the roller coaster, right? Because this really helped me that I have an option, you know, and it really does support you, but everything else you're not able to inherit. And then I got, literally, it was a cancer care nurse. She was busy, 30 minutes to get me all the information. Some hospitals do not give it out. There's a lot of women who sit next to me at the hospital and they lost their, the final payment before they retire because they have breast cancer and they are not aware that they have special protection they can apply for. It does not happen automatically. So you have no idea about all these things. And sometimes you don't even get the information. So this is something you have like then imagine the situation. You have a very severe health situation. And on top, you have a severe financial situation. How should you concentrate on your treatments if you're not able to pay your rent? So these are things that like all come with cancer diagnosis we're not aware of. So, and I got like after half an hour, I got 17 different pieces of paper. And I was taken back. I was not able to stand up because my lumbar vertebra was broken. So I was taken back to the hospital and there was wind. So 3 of them flew away. So 2 of them, they got back and 1 was gone. So I missed that one. So it was for me very important to have this one tool where all this information is compressed in easy language, and it shows you the steps that you can do. And in the very beginning, we do have a really step-by-step plan. So how does it work? Very easy, because this is what you need. You need this head start in knowledge and time.
I guess this is one of the very main aspects here, that you, Caro, are bringing all your expertise that you gathered during your patient journey. And I want to mention or to emphasize that this is also for Caro something of, or let's say the aspect of giving back, because you mentioned before that you married into a physician's family. So you perhaps had access through your friends, through your family, very quickly to experts, or to the best league of experts. And you said, well, if I hadn't had these opportunities, perhaps the result might have been different, or definitely the journey would have been different. And you want to provide actually this advantage, if I may put it like this, that you had to every single patient out there. And that's why you're offering this initiative, why you came up with the idea of this initiative, and why you actually also placed all the other medical specialties there. So it's not just about radiology. Radiology is very important, but you have actually features there from oncologists, from gynecologists, from surgeons, from radiotherapists, from histopathologists. So everything is in there, and it's in lay language. So patients can easily understand the core of the information, the core of what is important. And this is something that I find so amazing, because you then, of course, perfectly found the touch that you need, or the information that you need to pass on to other patients.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, people tell me, how can you live with your diagnosis? Doctors ask me, my oncologist, he's amazing, but he's like, I don't understand how you can live like that. I wish we would have more patients like you. Because he was very smart with communication. I mentioned that in the EUSOBI communication workshop we had. He was very smart. He said 3% can already be cured, but the rest we are able to chronify for a very long time. So he turned it around. He could have said, you know, like with this is, I like this ring so much. This is a loom ring. It's like, it has, like I show it to you, it has this one color on one side and the other one on the other side. So if you turn your communication around, it's still the same ring, but the effect is a very, very, very different one, you know? And in order to understand the needs of the patient, because I hear a lot that, okay, actually, just at the last meeting we had, I heard a lot what patients need from a doctor, but how can you know what a patient needs if you're not a patient yourself? It's the same with me. How do I know what the doctor needs if I'm not a doctor myself? So what we try to do and be accepted is really to switch perspective, to really try to look at the other side, what is there and what you need. And I think this comes out of my former life. I was in M&A and investment banking. So we always had to look at all the sides and to really make everyone happy in the end of the day, because it's only then when the whole thing will work. So this is what we really tried with Be Accepted, to create something that really brings a benefit to all stakeholders in the process. And because doctor, your patients, they will tend to believe what you tell them. You have a lot of power. And they're the first time in the situation. They have no idea what expects them, and they don't want to even know about cancer before. So they're not getting into there. So you really have a huge opportunity there to send the patients on the right pathway. And it's always how the story starts, defines how it continues in many ways, not only in the medical path, if we think of random situations in your life. And I think also we hear a lot about, I just received this book from the Harvard, it's from the Harvard Business Review. It's about mindfulness. So it's everywhere, being mindful, being resilient. But I think if you, as medical doctors, as radiologists, are mindful about things in small ways, about communication, about how to deal with your patient, if you're aware of that, that's kind of mindfulness, it will have a huge impact on your life. And we did this challenge after the last EUSOBI talk I had online, and it was amazing how many people participated. So the challenge was to be accepted or not, but definitely to be the best version of yourself in communication. And then a few questions were asked after 30 days. So which impact did it have on your life? Which impact did it have on a multidisciplinary level among your team, with your patients, and on your personal life? And the answers were amazing, really breathtaking, because it did have a very, very positive impact. So it's really worth it to put a focus on that and to raise your visibility and to be accepted, to help your patients find the right pathway in a very good and easy way in a hard situation.
Thank you, Caroline, for summarizing this personal story of you who ended up in a tremendous project, which is, for me, as a personal summary, but an interim, obviously, summary about solving the dilemma of over and under information you have as a patient faced with the diagnosis of cancer, which gonna obviously change your life. You provide comprehensive information, which is approachable because it's using different means of communication, classical print media, web pages, but also new forms like the avatar you mentioned. It is about quality. I think this is most important. Maybe we have time for next edition to talk about how the quality is key. Dr. Google versus be accepted would be one topic. I think this is very important. But for me, it was a privilege to talk to you both. So thank you very much for taking the time. But for me, the 360-degree was not just a buzzword, but the fact that you both were here sharing your different perspective on this broad topic shows you that really kind of translate the idea into action. But for now, I will be silent. And as usual, the last words of these videocasts belong to my fellow guests. And maybe ladies first, Caro, you would say some final word to our listeners, to which I also want to thank that you followed us to this end and closing moments of this podcast. Caro, what is your vision or your take home to our followers?
I'm going to make it very short now. So we have a lot of future plans. It will grow a lot, and it's amazing the ride we made. The first 6,000 prints we did for the July Congress when we launched were sold out already in December. And I'm going to end with our slogan that no matter what comes, and I think in our very busy time, it's quite intense, and it says, you are stronger than what comes your way. And to tell that your patient that you're able to cope with whatever comes. And also, if you have to die, that it will be in a certain way, and it can be different from the other way, and that it's your choice how to deal with a difficult situation, and that you as radiologists have a big impact on how people take this decision. And I would be very happy if you check out the website on www.be-accepted.com. Or you can also order the magazines, or you have a magazine to actually go through like the actual physical version online as well. So let me know, send me an email. If you want to be interviewed, let me know. I will be happy to share your expertise. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for this amazing work you do, because otherwise I would not be here anymore. You are the ones with the big pictures. You are the images. So don't forget that and build your identity upon that.
Thank you very much. And obviously, I will make sure to send all the information links in the bio to this interview. Thank you very much. And maybe we have the chance to talk here again, once again. Have a good one.
Thank you.
And Michael, may I invite you to share some final thoughts, remarks after this, inspiring half hour we had together?
Yeah, thank you very much. Just in very brief. So I want you to focus on communication. Communication is key. We communicate with our patients, and we are there in these very important life-changing moments when they are informed on the diagnosis, about the diagnosis, and there we need to be. And we have to be aware how important our role is, that we are there at the very start of almost every medical journey, which is in the beginning more diagnosis, very much on our side, and goes then on to treatment, where we are also involved. So we have to be aware of this, and we have to be aware that there is be accepted. So any question or any aspect that we cannot tackle in this first communication during these very important moments for our patients, any answers can be found in Be Accepted, in the magazine and on the homepage. So make use of this. It will really help you in your everyday practice. Thank you very much for the invitation, Matthias.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Caroline, for sharing your passion, your knowledge, and your wisdom, if I may say so, to share with our followers. To you at home, I want to thank you that you followed this interview, and make sure to ask all the questions you have in the link. I will personally take care for forwarding to my guests here. Once again, thank you, Caro and Michael, for being here with us, and make sure to follow our channels. Have a good one. Goodbye.